Cats and TV. Hey everybody, Cats and TV, and this is a very special maneki neko. I got this maneki neko at the Gotokuji Temple, just outside of Tokyo. It is often referred to as the Cat Temple. I first learned about this in Sans Soleil, an experimental documentary by Chris Marker, which also includes video and audio synthesizers and locations in San Francisco. And it's the topic of today's video. Sans Soleil unfolds as a series of seemingly disconnected shots from various locations around the world, primarily Japan and the West African countries of Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau, but also Iceland, Paris, and San Francisco. As we move through these locations, an unseen female narrator reads letters from a fictitious cameraman. In some ways, it reminds me of Chantal Akerman's Letters from Home, which featured scenes from New York, over which an unseen narrator read letters, and which we discussed in an earlier video. We'll put a link to that at the top and in the description below. However, unlike the intimate and everyday topics of Ackerman's letters, the writer in Sans Soleil mixes details of the various places he visits with more philosophical musings about the perception of time and place. After rapidly moving from Iceland to Tokyo to West Africa to Paris in the first few minutes, we are introduced to a temple dedicated to cats on the outskirts of Tokyo. We see a large array of ceramic maneki nekos and people coming to leave offerings, including an older couple who leave an offering for their cat Tora, who ran away some time ago, something I found very poignant. Although it was not mentioned by name, after a little research, I determined this was the Gotokuji Temple in the suburb of the same name just outside of Tokyo. When I found myself in Japan in 2009, I made a point of hopping on a train from the Shinjuku neighborhood of Tokyo, another location that features in this film, to Gotokuji to visit the temple in person. Once inside the complex, I found my way to the very same set of shelves with ceramic maneki nekos that we saw in the film. I spent a bit of time there to be in the present, and then came home with one of the figurines for myself, purchased in the gift shop, of course. Tokyo features prominently throughout the film, where we see street festivals, political demonstrations, the Japanese love of electronic gadgets, and cats. Lots of cats. Throughout these scenes in Tokyo and the remainder of the film, the sparse soundtrack is itself provided by experimental sounds from synthesizers, specifically the EMS Synthi VCS3 and the Moog Source. It is also here that we are introduced to the EMS Spectre video synth, both verbally and visually, as we see it used to treat many of the visual clips. I particularly like the scene where we see the video synth along with a cat figurine and a cat on the video screen. It becomes an integral part of the story, described in the letters and blending with the other recurring themes of the film. It is also at this point that the film's location pivots to San Francisco through the title images of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Now before we continue, please subscribe to this channel so that we may bring you more cultural content regularly. And please do consider supporting us. We have links to our merch store, Patreon, and Ko-Fi in the description below. And if you like what you see here, please give us a thumbs up and share with your friends. Between stills from Vertigo, we see Marker's contemporary footage of San Francisco. We start at the florist shop Podesta Baldocci on Grant Avenue near Union Square. The florist is no longer there today. We travel north on Taylor Street, past Ina Coleridge Park, a favorite spot of mine in the city, and then past Green Street downhill towards the bay, with Alcatraz in the distance. This is followed by a shot that, despite my best efforts, I was unable to place. If you have any thoughts about where this is, please let us know in the comments below. We then turn from California Street south onto Mason Street, passing the Intercontinental Mark Hopkins Hotel, a spot that has appeared in a few different films we have looked at. He stops at the graveyard at Mission Dolores. He notes that the large Victorian building at the corner of Eddy and Gough, featured in Vertigo, was no longer there by the time he visited. It had been destroyed by fire in 1959 and is now an athletic field. He also filmed the nearby church at 950 Gough Street that was also featured in the film, and also later destroyed by fire. The location now sports a fancy contemporary mixed-use building. We finally stop at Fort Point, under the Golden Gate Bridge. Throughout these rapidly shifting scenes of the city, Chris Marker's fictitious photographer muses on the nature of time, space, and perception, often returning to the same questions repeatedly. The film then moves on to other locations before returning to scenes in San Francisco, this time entirely detached from Vertigo. We see a sign for Montgomery Street in the financial district. Based on the locations of Maritime Plaza, the Bay Bridge, and Embarcadero Center, it is clear we are looking east down Clay Street. The famous Pyramid Building is just off frame to the left. We jump to nearby 555 California, formerly the Bank of America building, then to an alley which I am guessing is Trinity Street looking north to Bush Street, and the Beaux-Arts Rust building. We then jump to 2nd Street at Stevenson, facing south towards the Bay Bridge approach and the clock tower, which is still there. This is quickly followed by the Wells Fargo headquarters, which is back on Montgomery Street and California Street. We then jump to this seedy-looking used car lot. Behind it are the iconic dome of City Hall, the Fox Plaza Tower, and 100 Van Ness. Based on these landmarks, I'm guessing our used car lot is on Turk Street, at the current location of the Tenderloin Elementary School. From there, we jump to the corner of Broadway and Fillmore and Pacific Heights, and then finally a panoramic view from the observation deck atop the Pyramid Building, formerly known as the Transamerica Pyramid. This is accompanied by theremin-like music, which I think is coming from the Moog source. This marks the final scene in San Francisco, but the film continues to move around to other locations, accompanied the entire time now by the abstract monophonic synthesizer music. Towards the end of the film, we return to Iceland, even encountering another cat in the street, followed immediately by a return to the Cat Temple at Gotokuji, where we are told that the woman who had earlier placed an offering said, "Cat, wherever you are, peace be with you." It is perhaps quite fitting, especially for us at Cat Synth, that the film ends with an extended segment of clips processed by the EMS video synth, including a maneki neko from Gotokuji, as well as one of the many live cats. To find out more about Chris Marker and Sans Soleil, please check out the description below this video. And if you have any questions or thoughts about anything you saw, please let us know with a comment. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to Cat Synth TV.